Welcome to another episode of Horse Girl TV. I'm your host, Angela Kelly. Today we travel to sunny Southern Oregon to meet Penny Barerras, owner of Farwood CEM Quarantine Center. So Penny, I want to thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming out. This is really fun, and I'm glad to get the information out about CEM. It's something a lot of people don't know anything about because we don't have it on the northern continent.
Well, what does a quarantine facility do?
Well, we test specifically for the one bacterial infection called CEM, or contagious equine metritis, and that's an STD in horses. So it's not something that they're going to pass along just interacting with each other casually.
So what happens to a horse upon arriving to a port of entry into the USA?
Well, they're received in Los Angeles by a USDA veterinarian, and they've had a groom traveling with them on the flight. And that groom will travel with them on the truck to the primary quarantine, which is a very short distance from the airport, at which point the horses are unloaded out of their containers or pallets and checked over there again completely by a USDA vet, at which point their blood is drawn and they do their primary quarantine, and that ends after 2 days. And then geldings are immediately released to the owners because they can't carry CEM. And mares and stallions then go on to a secondary quarantine center.
Like Farwood?
Exactly. They come on up to a facility like this.
What are some important considerations for a person interested in importing a horse that is in need of a CEM facility?
Well, they need to talk to the facility manager and the people who are actually going to be working with their horses, because when the horses come in, they're very tired, they're very exhausted, and they need to be supervised and taken care of, and different horses have different requirements at that time. So we're pretty well ruled by USDA regulation. So all of the facilities perform the same quarantine tasks. So really what they're looking at is, just like you'd look at a boarding facility, the type of care and the people that are actually hands-on with your horse.
So I'd like to thank you for being on the show, Dr. Cochran.
Thanks for having me.
For starters, what is so dangerous about CEM?
CEM, contagious equine metritis, is basically the only venereal disease in the horse world that is transmitted directly through breeding. It causes no problems in the stallions. They show no physical signs of any illness. They are only the carriers. The mares, basically, if they do get the disease, it can cause them to be very sick, can cause abortion, and in some instances, if they do get sick enough, could cause the mare to die.
Is there one specific breed that's more susceptible to this?
All horse breeds are susceptible. Thoroughbreds have been implicated to be somewhat more susceptible than other breeds, but any horse could be susceptible to it.
Well, is there anything else that you think horse lovers should know about CEM?
Just that this country, the USDA has it very well under control in this country. We are considered a CEM-free country. It can, however, be transmitted. It is, like I said, transmitted through the stallion. Frozen semen can carry the CEM organism, and that is sometimes imported from foreign countries that do have active CEM disease in the country. But the stallions and the semen are both examined before coming into the country, and then the semen, once it's here, is also examined as well. So it's a pretty darn good job of keeping it out of this country for the horse lovers here.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you very much again for taking time to be on the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. So we have Horse Girl Mail.
Okay.
Rebecca from Calabasas writes, Dear Horse Girl, I'm thinking about importing a stallion and was wondering what general importation expenses I might encounter.
Well, she'd be looking at the expenses for an agent in Europe to arrange transportation and export and the quarantine over there, and then the agent in Southern California to receive the horse and pull all of the American permits. Then the primary quarantine, which is 2 days at LAX, and then the ground transportation from LAX to the secondary quarantine, like up to Farwood. And then, if they like, we can also arrange for transportation home for the horse back to their stable. So we can cover everything from the time the horse leaves secondary quarantine back to their facility.
Thanks, Penny. And don't forget to send your questions to mail@horsegirltv.com, and you could be featured on a future episode. That about wraps it up for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.